my husband is very depressed. He had an emotionally inappropriate relationship with a female 3 months ago. And I went through my normal, typical freaking out because we've been married 22 years, always had a faithful marriage, whatever. And I am, now he's really depressed. And I was going to pull it up here, but he describes all of the Aspie feelings you say that Aspies have. I say Aspies with love.
I do too. I get in trouble for saying that sometimes, but I mean it with endearment as well.
I saw that on YouTube and I'm like, I don't mention that to him because he's still a little bit, he's very sensitive about it, but
Sure.
he's negative, he's disgusting, he's disgusted, he's apathetic, he can't, he's not repentant or remorseful necessarily. I think he is, but he doesn't express that. It's more about him, his toxic shame and his toxic guilt. And I'm kind of coming through this. I don't know where our marriage is headed per se, but I think I'm getting stronger and healthier. I think I'm getting some help. I'm on this group. I'm on another group. I'm trying to do the right things. And he's very depressed and he already has a job that he doesn't sleep well. He doesn't eat the best lately. I'm just trying to show him love in a gentle, quiet way rather than screaming at him and all this stuff that I did for the first 2 months. I'll be honest. I just don't know how to help him or encourage him without being like a mother figure. Mm-hmm. And I took some of your tips and I've put some of them into practice, but it's hard, when you're going through pain to say, okay, I can just have my own life. And, so I'm just wondering if you have any tips, because he says he thinks he has a mental illness. He's just in this really dark place and I don't want to heap any more junk on him to make him feel worse. So I have backed off with accusations, my own hurt and anger. But I mean, we can't function like that forever, but in this time, I want to give him that space. And I'm just wondering, considering the fact that he has ASD, how do I go about, letting him know I care and I want him to get some help. He doesn't really want it. He is seeing one counselor, but he doesn't like it. And I think he's going to cut it off. I tried introducing him to the Asperger's men's group. He wants nothing to do with that.
Okay.
So I just don't know.
Well, there's all kinds of things that could be going on there. And I have no idea. And your guess is probably better than mine, but it would still be a guess. Some of this could be to get you to feel sorry for him and back off. That would be I doubt that it's just one thing. It's probably a combination of several things. That certainly could be one thing that I'm just going to present as if I'm very pitiful, and then Jen rather will feel sorry for me and back off. And the reason I say that with some level of confidence is because he's not willing to be proactive and according to you, at least not proactive enough to take care of it. If he was really suffering as bad as he says he is, he would be doing a lot of things. That's just one thing that could be going on. That's my best guess. I'm sure that he is depressed. I'm not saying he's not depressed. I'm not saying it's a total con job, but I am saying it's an exaggeratory job. And also, as far as what you do with it, as much as I hate to say this because it sounds so terribly sarcastic and negative, but I think at this stage of the game, Jen, the more you do, the worse it gets. So I think you're on the right track with respect to just kind of staying out of it. His depression is his problem, not yours. And so maybe you have volunteered to be the mother figure for so long, I don't know. And so now he's just kind of used to it. He needs to put on some big boy pants and take care of his own stuff. Now, that's not to say just abandon him. You can certainly say, hey, I kind of feel helpless as to how to help you. So I'm just going to be on standby for now. Instead of me trying to guess what you need from me, I'm just going to rely on you to tell me. If there's anything I can do for you to help, by all means, please let me know. In the meantime, you're in my thoughts and prayers if you believe in prayer. And I'll just trust that you'll find your path and that you'll be able to come up with the conclusions that you need to take care of you and put the ball back in his court. And I don't know if you're in a position to respond to that or not. what I just said
No,
there?
yeah, I'm writing frantically right now because my mind is mush. I've been betrayed and I'm just, trying to keep my feet on the ground. Um, I
And
have
this is
one
this
question.
is being recorded too, by the way, just for your information.
Okay. Yeah, I can go back to that. Yeah. Okay. So I really appreciate that insight. And, along with that, how do well, yeah, can I express my emotions to him? I tried it this morning and it kind of worked. It backfired a tiny bit, but I caught him on it. I said, this is not about a pity party about you. This is about me being angry about a choice that you made. And I'm upset about that. I don't like it. It doesn't mean I can't forgive you. I just think it was a really poor choice. And it hurts me that you made that choice. It was about telling his sister something. And I just said, I will forgive you, but I think it's fair for me as an adult, your wife, to let you know when you've upset me. He says, oh, I'm a loser. I'm terrible at relationships. I'm no good. He went on to that. I said, no, 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 no. I
Okay,
said,
so
this,
that just confirms my suspicion earlier. I was kind of given a good guess earlier, but what you just said there confirms it. So that seems to be his modus operandi is as soon as he's in trouble or as soon as there is a problem, then he starts um, self-degradation and criticizing himself and putting himself down in hopes that you'll back off. You're definitely entitled to tell him how you feel and when you're upset. The only thing is, I would try to keep it really short because if it turns into a lecture, you're creating a worse problem than you're solving.
okay. Well, yeah. And he came around. I said, just admit what you did wrong, please. That's all I want is to say, I did wrong. I'm going to forgive you for it. Just, can you admit that it wasn't the best thing to do? And it upset me. And he did admit that. So, yep, yep. And, I'm trying not to sit in the driver's seat. That's another accusation I get all the time. So anyway, all that being said, I'm just in a place that's like, what kind of marriage are we going to have after this? When I just don't know. I mean, we have 5 children. I would like to remain married. I am a woman of faith, and I see that he's sad about his behaviors. I see that I think he wants the marriage, but how to move forward and not walk on eggshells, or, I know I have to do some changing too. I get that, and I'm working on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know how the marriage is going to look. And so I'm in this place of unknowing and uncertainty, I guess, is all I'm trying to share.
Well,
So,
what I would say to that, and this is a gross oversimplification, but it just kind of gets you in the ballpark. Um, what you need to do, Jen, is a kind of a combination of setting some healthy boundaries for yourself and making those known because, you know, he needs to kind of know where you stand with him. But there is 2 sides to this. Let's think of it in terms of tough love, really. That's what we're really talking about. So there's the tough part, and then there's the love part. So the tough part, roughly speaking, would be you setting boundaries with behavior that is acceptable to you and behavior coming from him that is not acceptable. And let him know that in very clear but short, concise terms. That's the tough part. Then there's the love part. And what he would need, based on what you've told me, how he responds to these situations, what he needs more than anything is to feel appreciated. I'm going on record as saying he does not feel appreciated. And so if you could periodically, when it's appropriate and just it's not, and when it's genuine, if you could offer just a little bit of acknowledgement and praise, I can promise you that will go a long way with him. And it could be something as simple as pointing out something that he did right every once in a while. Or if he usually does something wrong, but this time he didn't do it, you could point out, hey, I noticed, you usually leave your socks in front of the TV all night. I noticed you picked those up, but I just wanted to let you know I appreciate that. So just a little bit of acknowledgement and praise every once in a while on the love end.
well,
And
I get that. I did that yesterday. Usually it takes him forever to do a project. He actually, within 2 days, got a project done for our dryer. And I'm like, thank you so much. I just told him, I said, now I can do laundry and not have to hang it out all over our house. And,
yeah,
I said, thank you so much for
that'll go a
getting
long
on
way.
that. Okay.
Okay. Who else with a question, please?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody? Okay, I'm going to go over here and look at the questions that were put in here over on the side then. Um,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Um, I'm wondering, I've been married 23 years, and I find my husband forgets so many things, forgets, you know, certain milestones. And I'll say, remember when we went on this trip? He goes, I don't remember anything. He doesn't seem to remember a lot of things. And I'm wondering if
that's because largely he's not there during those things.
Oh, why is that?
And again, I'm speaking in generalities here. But as long as I'm 60% of the ballpark, it speaks to most of the crowd. Here's the super summarized version of what can and often does happen. There is this thing called anxiety that goes with autism spectrum disorder, which simply means that the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that's responsible for fight or flight, is steadily dripping adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, cortisone. It's this low-grade chronic anxiety comes with the territory. There's another thing that comes with the territory called mind blindness, which means I can't figure people out. I don't know why they say and do the things they do and think the way and behave the way they do and have certain opinions. So I'm kind of lost in that regard. So I'm always kind of everything is a mystery to me with other people's behavior. I also have another thing that comes with the package is alexithymia, which means it's kind of like emotions blindness. Mind blindness is I don't know how you think. And furthermore, I think that you're crazy the way you think. Alexithymia is I don't understand how you feel. And furthermore, you're overly emotional and too clingy and too whiny. And those are just three. There's also executive functions, Alexa, shut off. I said alexithymia and Alexa kicked on. There's executive function deficits. There's central coherence. There's also an issue, and I could drone on for that forever. But I'm getting to the point now, Irina, and that is I am dodging paintballs all day. And my life is anxious as hell compared to typical people all day. And so I engage in a lot of anxiety reduction techniques that you have witnessed firsthand. Shut down, meltdown. Sometimes I'll give you the illusion that I'm listening to you when I'm not. My mind is over there somewhere paying attention to others. So I'm daydreaming. I'm in my own little fantasy world a lot of the time in order to avoid the typical day-to-day stress that I have to deal with all of these traits of the disorder that haunt me. So when I'm doing something that's out of my area of special interest, like I'm with Irina and we're at a family function or we're celebrating something or other, or we're at some vacation that you would find very exciting and intriguing and you would remember it for the rest of your life, I'm just there for show. My mind is elsewhere. This is not my special interest. Even though everybody else around me is having the time of their life, I'm just hanging in there. My body's here, my mind is not here. So a couple of years later, for example, and you're saying, do you remember that one time? No, I don't remember that one time because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on that one time.
Yeah, it's like I have to prove everything to him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't believe anything. So
that's a hell of a note, isn't it?
Yeah.
You bring out a picture. Don't you remember? Here we are sitting on the beach. Oh, that is me. But are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Did you Photoshop this picture? Because I don't remember doing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
So, Mark, how do you?
It's difficult.
What if it's important for him to remember? Do you tell him that this is a 5 and that he needs to remember this, or I mean,
that's great. That's a wonderful suggestion, Carol. But you would want to do that before the event. In other words, and I'm going to use Manicia's term. She used the term back in the day that she may or may not recall with her husband, and she put it very beautifully, and I've never forgotten it. She said, and she was talking to her husband at the time, she goes, I want you to be present. And I couldn't have captured any better than that. So what you could do, Carol, is when there is an event that you think is important for sentimental reasons, that you want him to be, you could say before, hey, we're going to be going and doing this thing. I want you to be present. I want you to pay attention. This is, in life, most of life is very mundane. This is not in that category. This is an important event. So pay attention, please. And then through the event, in order to help him have some actual memory data, you don't need to let him know what you're doing, but through the event, whatever that event is, you could ask him some questions like, oh, isn't that monument beautiful? Do you really like that? So you're kind of prompting him at various points throughout. I'm just going to make up an example of a trip, for example. Maybe it's a 3-day weekend getaway or something, and you're going to your daughter's graduation. I don't know, I'm making something up. You could point out little separate incidents throughout the event to kind of make those events stand out in his memory, so that when the event is actually over, you have prompted him to have about maybe 25 to 30 different data points, because he's actually had to talk to you about it and maybe answer your question about something. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. He'll say to me, do you remember where we were when we first heard this song? He'll remember that. I don't even remember this song, but he'll forget major events. But that makes sense when you're saying he's not present. So thank you.
When he brought up the song, he was present in that moment. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what it ties into a little bit of what Irina was saying, in the sense that it is kind of an executive function thing. In fact, I think I listed some executive functions in here, and that would be long-term memory. Okay, so anyway, I thought that I put the executive functions in here. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, so can we have another question then?
Mark, may I piggyback on that one?
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying about kind of front loading him, that this is going to be an important thing that we're going to, but what about the daily interactions where he's actually participating in that conversation? He answers that he understands it, or he'll even say stuff, but then within a few minutes or hours, he denies that that was ever said or done. And I understand that it's because he's really not paying that much attention, but how do you do that when it's just coming up in those smaller ways, not a big monumental trip or something, but just the daily thing?
Yeah, so we're talking about, and I just now found what I thought I put in here. Who was that? Who am I talking to?
Michelle Williams. You met us yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle. One of the executive functions is working memory.
Okay.
And that's the ability to hold on to information in order to process it. It's also the ability to listen to I'm going to make up an example. It would be if he has functioning working memory, he would be able, I'm going to make up an example where maybe you have talked to him for 20 or 30 minutes about something important to you. And he was able to put that together in his mind in a cohesive way and walk away with your main point. He would also be able to recount, if he had to paraphrase, he would be able to recount the main points in a logical sequence or in a timeline sequence, what you mentioned first, what you mentioned second, or what made the most sense to him first, what made the most sense to him secondarily. Working memory also ties into being able to follow instructions. You may have noticed that he's terrible with verbal instructions, especially if your instructions go 5 to 7 points deep.
Yeah.
Reading comprehension. So that is one of the deficits that come with ASD, is some working memory issues.
So is it condescending? I mean, if I was talking to my kids when they were younger, I'd say, can you repeat back to me? And I know in like communication 101, you're supposed to repeat back to them what I hear you saying is. So is it rude for me to elicit that he says it back to me? Or what's a good way to do that, to be respectful of an adult, but
I don't think it's rude, and God bless you for prompting him, but I know that he's going to download it as, I don't know if he's going to view it as you being critical or you being parental.
Yeah, all of those. It will be.
So
sure.
What I would do then, instead of prompting him, like, for example, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying something to him and then you're hoping that he will reciprocate, he's listened, he's going to paraphrase back what he said so he can make sure he understands and so forth like that, right?
Right, correct.
And so now you've said that and you're waiting for him to do a bit of the reciprocity business and you get nothing.
Right.
And so then you go, well, I was kind of waiting for the give and take in conversation.
Right.
Then, of course, that's going to probably just make him feel like he's criticized her again.
Correct.
So, what I would do, and this is a little bit reminiscent of what we had talked about with Carol, I would give him a little bit of a prompting up front before you even have your message. And so you could say, Gareth, you're okay with this give and take and conversation thing that we talked about, right? You go, yeah, okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And then a little while later, preferably within the hour, then you say what you wanted to say when you were wanting some reciprocity.
Mhm.
And so prior to saying it, you could say, Gareth, I had a thought, and this gives us a chance to practice this give and take in conversation. So what I wanted to tell you was blah, 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 blah. So you're kind of saying the same thing, except ahead of the conversation
Okay.
instead of behind it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Because if you say it behind it, I'm trying to think like he would think. He's thinking, oh, so she thinks that I'm not communicating properly again. She thinks that, that I'm not doing this. I don't know exactly how he would think, but he would put some kind of negative spin on it.
Right.
But if you tactfully mention it up front, he's not going to make the connection between she just spoke to me and now I'm an idiot again.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what we want to call that, Carol. I use the term compassionate coaching. That's been my go-to phrase.
As a way to explore hope.
So you are kind of being, in a way, a bit of a social skills coach. But in a compassion, that has two components: social skills coach, but compassionate in that you're going to prompt him in a way that doesn't download his criticism or raise his anxiety when possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Michelle? James? Brenslow?
I wondered if I could share something related
Go ahead.
to what she was just talking about. It's more of a share than a question. My husband and I, in talking this last week, realized we've had the same conversations over and over about household things that he just won't remember. And I've tried all the tricks to get him to remember. He'll repeat it back to me, and it'll be the exact same thing. Like a month later, he's forgotten. And we go through the same thing. And I just this week realized that at work, he doesn't forget these things because he has procedures written down.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought it was a brilliant idea if we create a written list for him and he can refer back to it. And when he doesn't know what he's supposed to do with this household chore, he can basically look at our household manual that we're going to create.
That's what I was going to suggest, but also with a timeline, because there's some things that can be done. I'm just going to make up an example, Ellen. There's some things that need to be done now. There's some things that need to be done within the hour. There's some things that need to be done within 3 hours. Some things need to be done today. Some things need to be done by the end of the week. So as long as you throw in a timeline of these things, otherwise you're opening another can of worms, because now he's going, well, okay, well, I knew I was supposed to do that. I didn't know when. Another thing, if you really want to go the full mile with this, is to also attach a level of importance. So let's say, for example, there's one thing on the list, and this is something that doesn't necessarily have to be done immediately, but it's really super important to get it done at some point within the next 3 or 4 days. So what I would suggest is have the task, and beside that have, when it's ideal to have it done, either by date or by time of day or both. And then another number beside that, we'll keep it simple and have a scale of 1 to 3. 1 is it needs to be done according to the timeline that we established, but it's not like crucial. 3, this is super important. It has to be done. We cannot let that thing go unattended. So you've got the task, you've got a timeline, and then you have a level of importance 1 to 3, 1 being low importance, 3 being crucial. So now he's got no excuse. He knows what to do, when to do it, and how important it is to get it done. And if he's open to that, which he's the one that recommended it, then you're in a good spot. Some of the wives have suggested this, and the husband, there he goes again, feeling like he's being criticized and treated like a child again.
I'm sure if it had been my idea, it would have not gone over so well. But since it was his, then it's great.
Yeah. And we're back to, Ellen, we're back to the executive function issues again. For example, he may have trouble getting started on a task. He may not know exactly when to start or what to do next. He may have trouble multitasking. He may have trouble planning and organizing. He may have trouble shifting focus. In other words, he's busy doing this thing, and then you ask him to do a chore. Now he's got to shift focus from what he was doing over to this task that you just charged him with. So there could be other executive function deficits going on there as well. So in this way, with this little written schedule that we talked about, that kind of bypasses most of the possibility for executive function deficits getting in the way. Barb is typing. Why don't you just turn your mic on? Whichever Barb is typing, just turn your mic on.
Very good. You can see all that. I don't know how this all works. My question, as you were talking about the alexithymia, and that's not understanding feelings, right?
Including your own.
Okay.
Have you ever asked him, how do you feel, honey? Oh, I feel fine. Well, fine's not really an emotion. Okay, well, I feel okay.
Yeah. And so somewhere in that, is that where everything I say, no matter how nicely, respectful, whatever, gets flipped around as criticism? Is it somewhere in the alexithymia, or?
I don't know that it's so much the alexithymia business there as it is the fact that it's probably more, if he's getting, if it's downloading to him as criticism, even when your comments by all accounts would be neutral, we're back to the mind blindness issue. Because if I don't understand, if I can't crawl out of my skin and crawl into your skin and look out of your eyeballs and see how you see things, your perspective, how these different things based on your beliefs and thoughts make you feel, and how these thoughts and feelings make you behave. See, I would have this full spectrum as a neurotypical. I would be able to know what you with minimal information from you.
Yeah.
Sometimes just as little as a facial expression. I would have a good guess of what you're probably thinking, what you're probably feeling, and why you behave that way. But if I don't know any of that, and I'm mind blind and clueless as to why you're bringing your issue to me, if I don't see your perspective, it's as if your perspective doesn't exist. It's as if your perspective not only doesn't exist, but if it does exist, it's flawed. And I can only see my perspective if I'm mind blind. And your perspective is different than mine. Therefore, you must be against me. You're disagreeing with my perspective. Therefore, you're upset with me, or you're mad at me, or you're chastising me, or you're being critical because my perspective is right and yours is wrong. So here's the summary of what I'm trying to get at. If I can't see your perspective, even to one little tiny degree, your perspective either is, your perspective is probably, in my mind, wrong. Because in my mind, two people can't be right. One has to be right, one has to be wrong. And I don't see your perspective, therefore your perspective is wrong, I'm right. If you're disagreeing with me, in my thinking, by default, you are criticizing me, you're against me, you're faulting me for having the correct perspective, and so on.
Yeah, no, that's good. We had 2 different incidences this week that were very much showing that, like, bigger than I've probably ever seen. And then in that, I'm thinking, okay, where I've done some things on my own to kind of bolster against that, it's like, it almost seems hopeless though. Like, how in the world is there anything I can do to bring that out? I don't know.
Think of it like this. Let's pretend that, and this is kind of a bizarre analogy. Let's see if you can follow it with me. Let's say that you can see spirits. We call them ghosts or whatever. And you just happen to be a spiritualist and you can kind of see these things. Okay? Turn your mic off, whoever that was, please. And so you can see spirits, Barb. And by the way, some people claim that they can see that, but that's beside the point. And so what's your husband's name, Barb?
John.
So you're telling John, you're just assuming that he can see these spirits too. And you say, John, hey, John, you see in the closet over there? You see that spirit? It looks like a little 7-year-old child. Isn't that weird? And John goes, what? Yeah, that spirit. I see it. You see it? No, I don't see it. No, seriously, it's a 7-year-old child. You see that, right? No, I don't see it. I think you're freaking nuts. And I also think that you think that I'm stupid. That you're trying to make me believe that there's some 7-year-old childlike spirit in the closet there. That's crazy. What's wrong with you? Why are you even bringing this up to me? So that might have been a ridiculous example, but we're back to the mind blindness thing where he doesn't see these things that are just plain as day for you. And so since he doesn't see him, he kind of gets upset that you're even bringing it up. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, what can you do about it? I think you were trying to ask that.
Yeah.
And we're kind of back to the compassionate coach thing again. And you can always do this after the fact if you're doing it tactfully, where you're pointing something out to him after the fact, but it would be best to point it out before the fact. I'm going to give you 2 examples. And I used this yesterday in group for somebody that's in today's group, I think. I'm going to make up an example where mind blindness is at play and you're being a compassionate coach after the fact. And then I'm going to also use that same example where you're being the compassionate coach before the fact. So here's one with mind blindness, and you bring it up after the fact. You guys go to a dinner party, and he drones on for 10 or 15 minutes about his favorite topic. He's repairs, he buys and fixes old grandfather clocks. So he's telling everybody about his special interest, and you can see that the people are getting bored with his conversation. Some of them leave the table. Some of them are making faces like, oh my God, would this guy just shut the hell up? And you're embarrassed, but you don't do anything about it. And then on the way home, you, as the compassionate coach, tactfully point out, I forgot what your husband's name was, Barb.
John.
John, do you remember when you were talking about your grandfather clock collection to the crowd that was sitting at our table? Yeah. Did you notice how about half of those people just left and went over to the bar, and the other people that were there that were listening to you started their own conversations while you were talking? Yeah. Well, I just have to wonder if that was because maybe you took too long on that one topic and there wasn't enough give and take in the relationship. I don't know. What do you think? And now here's the same thing before the fact. You know how sometimes when we go to these dinner parties, you like to talk about your favorite topic, your grandfather clock collection. Yeah, that's right. Well, I've noticed that sometimes after you go on for maybe more than 10 minutes, they kind of lose interest in that and they kind of get annoyed. I don't know. So I don't know if you decide to talk about that at dinner later today. I don't know. Maybe just want to summarize, because I've kind of noticed the pattern that they seem to be, annoyed when any one person talks too long about their particular favorite hobby or whatever. So I don't know if that made any sense or not, but anyway, that's a way to kind of, without coming right out and saying, God, you just droned on so long and you drove people away. They don't want to listen to a 30-minute lecture on grandfather clocks. So that's going to be the download that will be viewed as criticism, and then he won't even want to go out with you anymore. Because he'll associate the criticism for him droning on with going out with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. That helps.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Alex.
Hi.
I feel afraid 80% of the time.
Welcome to the club.
And this isn't like me, because I remember years ago somebody asking, "Are you anxious?" And I said, "What is it? What do you mean?" And now I know damn well what it means. And we are about to start another phase of this endless divorce. We're going to try a mediator, but I have no privacy. He checks everything. And I was a writer, a nonfiction writer. And, he took some stories that I'd published and used them in court. And I don't feel psychologically safe. Like, I feel like he feels he has a right to look at everything. And he had a huge tech company. So and I'm a tech dodo. So I've given up. I can't outwit him or anything. People are like, well, why don't you change this password or that password? And it's like, well, it's freaking hopeless, because he can undo it in 2 seconds flat. And I don't know how to, I'm in the process of trying to get my own place to live. But even taking those steps, I feel like he's always looking over my shoulder. He's just super controlling.
Okay, so let's we're going to shift gears, because what I want to do is Alex, is two things. I want you to realize that this goes into all this stuff that he's doing goes into the stuff that you can't control. And you're going to, and I'm going to be rude here for a sec, you're going to fucking drive yourself nuts to try to control what he's doing.
Yep.
You're already there. So the stuff that he is doing on his end goes into the I can't control that category. And so you stop trying to control that. Now, that's point one. Point two is you need to get busy with the business of taking care of you.
Yep.
What I would suggest doing, I would like for you, if you would, Alex, to please start a journal, and I would like some specific things in this journal. And the goal here, Alex, when you said, I forget exactly how you put it when you first started talking, but the thought that I had was you've lost yourself.
Yeah.
You've lost a piece of yourself. And so what I want you to do in this, you can do whatever you want in your journal. It's your journal. But my agenda for you is for you to begin to find yourself again. So in the journal, I want you to, there's multiple things that can go in here, but I hope you at least have these. I want you to begin going back and remembering the strengths that you had and listing those in the journal. I also want you to begin, I'm just going to put this in the form of a question. And the answers to this question would go in the journal. How can I be my own? By the way, this is going to be in the text box when we're done in case you don't see it. How can I be my own friend, love myself, and help myself heal? That's not a rhetorical question. The answers, and they will change over time, the answers to those questions should go in your journal. Also, I would like for you to entertain this thought as well. I want you to, you're kind of in a state of despair right now, and I want you to start challenging that. And one of the ways you can do that would be to challenge black and white thinking that you may be having. That's just one of many ways that you could challenge despair. And we can speak more to that if we need to. The other thing that I want you to do, please, is understand that this is a growth period for you. I don't know what's ahead, but I know that you're on a journey, and I know that this journey is going to cause you to grow whether you want to grow or not. So I also want you to practice. So there's going to be two things that you're going to be doing, Alex. And I'm speaking in generalities again. You're either going to be journaling. You can put in there some history of the hurts. However you do it, however you want. You're either going to be journaling. We'll call it a worry journey or a worry journal or a fear journal, whatever you want to call it. You're either going to be journaling or you're going to be present. We're going back to Manicia's term. You're either going to be journaling or you're going to be present in the moment. Now, negative, scary thoughts are going to pop in your head from time to time. Give yourself permission for that to happen. But just have the thought, okay, I'm not going to worry about that shit right now. If I want to worry about it later, I will spend 10 or 15 minutes. I'll go to my journal and I'll spend 10 or 15 minutes worrying about it and all the things that could go wrong and all the things that he's probably doing behind my back, blah, 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 and I'll journal about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to be right here in the present moment and focus on what I'm doing now. So the purpose of the journal is twofold. One, it attempts to help you find yourself again by remembering the strengths that you had and acknowledging the strengths that you still have in the hopes that you will be putting those strengths back into practice again when you've recovered from this. It also will serve as an impetus for you to be your own best friend, your own healer, your own, the person that can love herself, get in touch with her child self and all of that business. So it works on the business of empowering. It also is something to get those negative thoughts out of your head, so to speak. If you're just ruminating, oh my God, things are going bad. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how this is going to turn out, blah, blah, blah. You're just ruminating. All those thoughts are churning. That's why you want to get your journal out and get those goddamn thoughts out of your head and onto paper. And then you put that journal over here in the drawer somewhere in the other room. If your brain starts churning again, fine, go get the journal, start writing again. But then when you're done, that journal goes in a drawer somewhere in the other room, or you hide it from him. I don't care where you put it in the chimney, put it in the trunk of your car, put it underneath your car. You put that journal out of earshot and eye shot, so to speak, and you get back to the present moment. So all the worries and all the fears and all the anxieties go on in that journal.
Because
and in the meantime, you're staying in the present moment.
the dynamics of the marriage, I didn't marry him till I was 45. And, I had a fine life. And then in the marriage, I became kind of the damsel in distress because the thing he was good at was fixing stuff, tasks. He can fix the car. He can, do carpentry. He can problem solve technical problems. And I'm like, oh crap. Now what am I going to do?
You're going to begin the business of acknowledging your strengths. One of those is you can be self-sufficient, or you can find somebody else. So this is not you just totally being reliant on you. This is you learning how to find other sources of support. That might be one of your strengths. Okay, I don't know how to do this. I'm never going to know how to do that thing, but by God, I can find somebody who can help.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to be him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of your strengths can be, and probably is, I can find my own sources of support.
Yeah.
I can recruit people that will be a part of my team, because he's not one of them.
Yeah. And the other thing I struggle with is I feel like my sense of empowerment has shrunken from lack of touch.
Mm-hmm.
So I miscarried our third child, and he essentially hasn't touched me since.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 3 years. So one of my son's coaches touched me on the shoulder this week, and I just started bawling.
Mm-hmm.
I just started bawling because that part of me
So we're back.
dried up.
No, it's not dried up. It's dry. It is definitely dry, but it's not dried up. So we're back to the same thing again. He's not touching you. That goes into the I can't control that category. But now we're back to how can you be empowered? Well, one of the ways you can do is one of the ways you can begin the business of getting yourself back is to, again, look for other sources outside of him for what you need. There's other people that would be very happy to touch you. And I'm not, as you know, I'm not even talking about sex necessarily, a hug, a kiss on the cheek, a rub on the shoulder. There's people all over the place, Alex, that would be proud and tickled to death that you would even ask them to do something like that, because they would be so, oh yeah, I so am up for giving you some nurturing. And they would be honored to even have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can put in your journal then is how can I reach out? Who do I need to get a hold of to fill in this huge gap? Okay.
Yep.
Michelle. Or Michelle, which Michelle is typing? Never mind. I thought you were typing a question over here.
It was me, Mark, but not a question. I was just sending a little support message to Alex, that's all.
Okay, thank you. That was nice. This is Alex. Stay strong. You have our support. You can do this. Thank you. That was sweet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Alex, are you in this? Barb Christensen is in this group. The other group are you in that group that Barb is in? That's led by Margot.
Yes, I was able to get on it.
Okay.
And yes, everything.
So that would be another source for you.
Yeah.
Keo, can you give advice on how to break through silent treatment stonewalling? What is the difference, Keo? Are those terms synonymous? Stonewalling and silent treatment, are those the same thing in your mind?
I'm not sure, actually. It's not
Okay,
my
that's all right.
language. In
That's
German,
all-
it's the same, but
That's
I
all
don't
right.
know English.
That's okay. I was just wondering if that was two different things. We'll just say it that it's one thing.
Uh-huh.
If he's giving you the silent treatment, in most cases, it's one of two things, and sometimes they can occur simultaneously. He's either mad at you and trying to be passive aggressive in his revenge, or he's not talking because he thinks that if he talks, you're going to talk back, and that's going to raise his anxiety. So it's the silent treatment, chronic silent treatment, if we're talking about that, is a mild form of a shutdown where he is avoiding conversation for fear that it's going to turn into an argument. So let me ask you this, Keo, have you guys tried to talk about some difficult things that just usually ends in a fight?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, so that's why the silent treatment. And so there's a lot of things that can be done, but the first thing to be done would be to not talk about any heavy topics for a while so that he can get over his, temporarily over most of his anxiety about discussing heavy topics. I'm guessing that he wouldn't have any interest in joining my men's group, would he?
I didn't find the button for the microphone. I don't know. Right now, we are not really talking about these kind of things, which is part of the problem.
Does he want to work on the marriage, or he's just basically screw you? You're on your own at this point.
We don't see each other at the moment at all. We don't live together, so we haven't talked in a couple of weeks, actually.
Okay. Do you think he has interest in working on the marriage?
I really don't know. I'm not sure either if I want to.
Okay.
But I would like to be able to talk to him at least.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't.
Well, if you could talk to him about the one thing at a time, Keo, instead of dragging in 3 or 4 problems. So when you're going to have a talk, it would be best, not that this is going to eliminate his anxiety, and that's why he's not talking, is because when he talks to you, his anxiety comes up. So his silent treatment is all about anxiety reduction. So you could help with that by, when you need to talk, ask him if you can talk. Can we talk briefly about such and such? So instead of just jumping in and interrupting him, you're asking permission. If you could stay to one problem at a time, if you're talking about problem 1, don't bring in problems 2, 3, and 4 in that conversation. Save those for later. And whatever you have to say, keep it as short as possible, because the longer you talk, the more his anxiety is going to come up as well. So it would be best, as much as I hate to say this because it's hard for NT wives to do this, if you can keep your message to under 5 minutes, that would be ideal. So then at least you could get your point across without him totally shutting you out.
Oof. I'm not sure. There's so much stuff piled up.
That's all right. There's more than one day in a week. So I would stick with one problem at a time, and I would keep on your end, keep it short and sweet and concrete. Be very specific and speak in terms of what you need rather than attacking him.